I want to talk about the Cpk concept. So Cpk is a process capability index. It defines as the distance between mean to the customer standard and divided by the half of the process width. For the distance between mean to the customer standard, it can be mean minus the lower spec limit or the upper spec limit minus the mean value. It depends on which number is smaller, then we will pick that one. We will pick that one as our numerator. And the reason why we want to choose the minimum value here is because we want to give the importance to the borderline that we are more likely to touch or cross. Since we understand the Cpk's definition, let's take a look at the value of the Cpk and what is the meaning behind it. First, let's think about we have a well-centered process and the process tail is overlapping with the borderline. In this case, the Cpk value will equal to 1 because the distance between the mean to the borderline are equals to the half process width. If we have the well-centered process slightly shift lower or upper, then the distance of the numerator, that's meaning that the distance between the mean to the lower spec limit is become smaller. And since the numerator becomes smaller, the Cpk value will less than 1. If we keep going further, if the mean value overlapping the borderline, then in that case, Cpk will equals to 0. If we still keep push the process to the lower side, the mean value will be lower than the lower spec limit. At that time, the Cpk value will be a negative number, so the Cpk will less than 0. The Cpk value can also greater than 1 in what case? If the process width is pretty narrow. And in that case, the same numerator, but the denominator, which means the process widths are getting very narrow, so the Cpk value can larger than 1. Since we know the Cpk value and what does that mean for our process, I want to get a relationship between the Cp and the Cpk. So basically, think about a well-centered process. If the process is well-centered, the Cp is equal to 1 because the process width is equal to the spec width. The same thing, the Cpk for the well-centered process will also equal to 1 because the distance between mean to the customer standard are equals to the half of the process width. So in that case, Cp will equal to Cpk equals to 1. The second case will be, what if our process is not well-centered, it's slightly shift upper or lower side? In that case, the Cp value will not change because the Cp value doesn't count into the mean. It's only count to the spec width and the process width. So the Cp will still have the same number. The value is still 1. But the Cpk will be different. Because we shift our process, the mean is more closer to the customer standard. The numerator in the Cpk formula becomes smaller, so the Cpk will be less than 1. Combine these two cases, we can get a conclusion that Cp is always greater or equal to the Cpk.